Chapter 748. Friends possessed by Vikings. It starts at a very prominent business building. Two very important people were in an office in their easy chairs. Those people were Slade and Jagger Princeton, the two older brothers of Ches Princeton. Slade and Jagger were sitting in their easy chairs in their home office watching a mindless reality show when who should appear but their estranged brother, Ches. Ches, hello, everyone. My name is Ches Princeton, and I'm the youngest brother of Slade Princeton. He has told you he is a great American, a great leader and a great family man. But I ask you, would a great family man do what he has done to me? Evil music played, and a montage of a younger Ches with bruises on his face from being slapped, Ches being kicked around, Ches being yelled at when he didn't do well in duels or in his studies, and then finally Slade blowing up at his brother at Duel Academy and dueling the boy in order to tear down the school. Ches, my brother has disowned me, mistreated me, and attempted to take away the educational opportunities for hundreds of children in an attempt to damage me and anyone who gets in his way. He is a political opportunist and doesn't really care about the United States. And there is further evidence of that. Ches then showed a picture of Slade burning an American flag, and it was clear he wasn't disposing of a worn, damaged flag at a Boy Scout jamboree. Ches, ladies and gentlemen, do you really want to elect a candidate who mistreats family and denigrates our national symbol? I am Ches Princeton, and I approve this message. Slade and Jagger sat slack-jawed for about 3 minutes after the ad aired. Then Slade looked at his brother in horror. Slade, if enough people have watched this, we're doomed. Jagger, can't we spin this? Make it a media conspiracy? Come on, Slade. There's got to be a way to make this go away. Then Slade said something about his baby brother that is not fit to repeat. Slade and Jagger were completely enraged. The phone rang. Slade, I'll get that. Answers phone. Hello? Ches, unable to hide his smirk. Hello, Slade. How's the election going? Slade, pissed off when I get a hold of you. Ches, laughing. You'll do what? Give me more ammo for next time? Maybe you'll think twice about how you treat people, or I'll bet I can find more of them friends who'll give me the goods on you. You go bye-bye, Slade. Hangs up. But then as luck would have it, an FBI SWAT team bursted into the house and they raided the house and found them in the office. Officer, down on the ground now. They slapped the cuffs on them. Slade and Jagger Princeton were arrested for abuse, fraud, assault, and battery, attempted murder and high treason. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. At the estate we were watching the news. News reporter, earlier this morning, presidential candidate Slade Princeton and his brother Jagger were arrested for numerous crimes against the entirety of the United States. Me, well, it serves your douchebag brothers right, Ches. Nico, I'll say. Alexis, yeah, those jerks have had this coming for a longer time. Jaden, yep. Nico, Slade and Jagger Princeton, you have failed this country. We laughed. Lola, but those clods got what was coming to them and they deserve to spend every second in prison. Lisa, affirmative elder sibling. Chaz, yep. Thanks for helping me bring my brothers to justice. JD. Me, anytime. Chaz. That's what friends do, and what your brothers did was completely unforgivable. Chaz, I know. Those clods are not my brothers anymore. As far as I know, my brothers are dead to me. Suzuki, at least it's not like that with me and my brother. I thought I hated my brother's guts because I thought he killed all my clan in cold blood. Me, but that was because of the corruption of the council. Lainey, your brothers were monsters. Chaz. If I was in your shoes, I would have disowned them right away after I found out their true nature. Chaz, yet. Good point, Lainey. June, I'm glad they got what they deserved. Me too. June. Hey June, what was the strangest adventure you've had in Orchid Bay? June, that is an easy one. It was where my friends were all possessed by the Vikings of the Kragnarok clan. Me, gasp. The Kragnaroks? I know that accursed clan all too well, Lori, how do you know them, JD? Me. Eyes glowed red. My ancestor is the one that killed them and cursed them by sealing their spirits into the medallion of Talker. June. I didn't know that, JD. Lincoln. Who's your ancestor that sealed them? Me. He's the most famous Viking in the world that explored much of North America. Leif Erikson. Lainey. I know Leif Erikson. He lived back 1,000 years ago and he discovered much of North America before Christopher Columbus discovered it. Me. That's right. It was back 1,000 years ago. Leif Erikson or Leif Erikson, c. 970 c. 1020, was a Norse explorer from Iceland. He was the first known European to have set foot on continental North America, excluding Greenland, before Christopher Columbus. According to the sagas of Icelanders, he established a Norse settlement at Vinland, tentatively identified with the Norse Lance Auxiliary Meadows on the northern tip of Newfoundland in modern-day Canada. Later archaeological evidence suggests that Vinland may have been the areas around the Gulf of St. Lawrence and that the Lance Auxiliary Meadows site was a ship repair station. Leif was the son of Eric the Red, the founder of the first Norse settlement in Greenland, and of Skjold, both of Norwegian origin. His place of birth is not known, but he is assumed to have been born in Iceland, which had recently been colonized by Norsemen mainly from Norway. He grew up in the family estate Brattle in the eastern settlement in Greenland. Leif had two known sons, Thorgils, born to noblewoman Thorgunna in the Hebrides, and Thorkell, who succeeded him as chieftain of the Greenland settlement. Early life. Leif was the son of Eric the Red and his wife Skjold, and the grandson of Thorvaldr Svaldson, and distant relative of Nadid, who discovered Iceland. He was a Viking in the early days. His year of birth is most often given as c. 970 or c. 980. Though Leif's birthplace is not accounted for in the sagas, it is likely he was born in Iceland, where his parents met, probably somewhere on the edge of Breiðafjörður, and possibly at the farm Hoggadal where Fjald's family is said to have been based. Leif had two brothers, whose names were Thorstein and Thorvaldr, and a sister, Freydis. Thorvald Svaldson was banished from Norway for manslaughter and went into exile in Iceland accompanied by young Eric. When Eric was himself banished from Iceland, he traveled further west to an area he named Greenland, where he established the first permanent settlement in 986. Tyrker, one of Eric's thralls, had been specially trusted to keep in charge of Eric's children, as Leif later referred to him as his foster father. Discovering Vinland. Leif and his crew traveled from Greenland to Norway in 999 AD. Blown off course to the Hebrides and staying for much of the summer, he arrived in Norway and became a herdman of King Olaf Tryggvason. He also converted to Christianity and was given the mission of introducing the religion to Greenland. The saga of Eric the Red and the saga of the Greenlanders, both thought to have been written around 1200, contain different accounts of the voyages to Vinland. The only two known strictly historical mentions of Vinland are found in the work of Adam of Bremen c. 1075 and in the Book of Icelanders compiled c. 1122 by Ari the Wise. According to the saga of Eric the Red, Leif apparently saw Vinland for the first time after being blown off course on his way to introduce Christianity to Greenland. According to a literal interpretation of Einar Hagen's translation of the two sagas in the book Voyages to Vinland, Leif was not the first European to discover America. He had heard the story of merchant Bjarni Herjolfsson, who claimed to have sighted land to the west of Greenland after having been blown off course. Bjarni reportedly never made landfall there, however. Later, when traveling from Norway to Greenland, Leif was also blown off course, to a land that he did not expect to see, where he found self-sown wheat fields and grapevines. He next rescued two men who were shipwrecked in this country and went back to Greenland, and Christianized the people there. Consequently, if this is to be trusted, Bjarni Herjolfsson was the first European to see America beyond Greenland, and the two unnamed shipwrecked men were the first people known to Europeans to have made landfall there. Leif then approached Bjarni, purchased his ship, gathered a crew of 35 men, and mounted an expedition towards the land Bjarni had described. His father Eric was set to join him but dropped out after he fell from his horse on his way to set sail, an incident he interpreted as a bad omen. Leif followed Jarny's route in reverse and landed first in a rocky and desolate place he named Helluland, Flat Rock Land, possibly Baffin Island. After venturing further by sea, he landed the second time in a forested place he named Markland, Forest Land, possibly Labrador. Finally, after 2 more days at sea, he landed in a verdant area with a mild climate and plentiful supplies of salmon. As winter approached, he decided to encamp there and broke his party into 2 groups, one to remain at camp and the other to explore the country. During one of these explorations, Tyrker discovered that the land was full of vines and grapes. Leif therefore named the land Vinland. There, he and his crew built a small settlement, which was called Leifsbudur, Leif's Booths, by later visitors from Greenland. After having wintered over in Vinland, Leif returned to Greenland in the spring with a cargo of grapes and timber. On the return voyage, he rescued an Icelandic castaway and his crew, earning him the nickname Leif the Lucky. Research done in the early 1960s by Norwegian explorer Helge Ingstad and his wife, archaeologist Anne Steen Ingstad, identified a Norse site located at the northern tip of Newfoundland. It has been suggested that this site, known as Lance Auxiliary Meadows, is Leifspur. The Ingstads demonstrated that Norsemen had reached America about 500 years before Christopher Columbus. Later archaeological evidence suggests that Vinland may have been the areas around the Gulf of St. Lawrence and that the Lance Auxiliary Meadows site was a ship repair station and waypoint for voyages there. That does not necessarily contradict the identification of Lance Auxiliary Meadows with Leifspur, since the 2 sagas appear to describe Vinland as a wider region which included several settlements. The saga of Eric the Red mentions 2 other settlements in Vinland, a settlement called Stromfjärur, which lay beyond Kjalarnes promontory and the Wonderstrands, and one called Hop, which was located even farther south. Personal life. Leif was described as a wise, considerate, and strong man of striking appearance. During his stay in the Hebrides, he fell in love with a noblewoman, Thorgunna, who gave birth to their son Thorgils. Thorgils was later sent to Leif in Greenland, but he did not become popular. After Leif's first trip to Vinland, he returned to the family estate of Brattle in Greenland, and started preaching Christianity to the Greenlanders. His father Eric reacted coldly to the suggestion that he should abandon his religion, while his mother Fidhildr quickly became a Christian and built a church called Fihild's Church. Leif is last mentioned alive in 1019, and by 1025 he had passed on his chieftaincy of Yrksfjärd to another son, Thorkel. Nothing is mentioned about his death in the sagas. He probably died in Greenland sometime between these dates. Nothing further is known about his family beyond the succession of Thorkel as chieftain. Legacy. Leif's successful expedition in Vinland encouraged other Norsemen to also make the journey. The first apparent contact between the Norse and the indigenous people, who the Norse later referred to as Skrillingjar, was made by his brother Thorvald, and resulted in hostilities and killing. In the end, there were no permanent Norse settlements in Vinland, although sporadic voyages at least to Markland for forages, timber and trade possibly lasted for centuries. The casual tone of references to these areas may suggest that their discovery was not seen as particularly significant by contemporaries, or that it was assumed to be public knowledge, or both. Knowledge of the Vinland journeys might have spread around medieval Europe, as writers such as Adam of Bremen made mention of remote lands to the west. It has been suggested that the knowledge of Vinland might have been maintained in European seaports in the 15th century, and that Christopher Columbus, who claimed in a letter to have visited Iceland in 1477, could have heard stories of it. Stories of Leif's journey to North America had a profound effect on the identity and self-perception of later Nordic Americans and Nordic immigrants to the United States. The first statue of Leif, by Anne Whitney, was erected in Boston in 1887 at the instigation of Eben Norton Horsford, who was among those who believed that Vinland could have been located on the Charles River or Cape Cod. Not long after, another casting of Whitney's statue was erected in Milwaukee. A statue was also erected in Chicago in 1901, having been originally commissioned for the 1893 World's Columbian Exposition to coincide with the arrival of the reconstructed Viking ship from Bergen, Norway. Another work of art made for the 1893 World's Columbian Exposition, the painting Liv Eriksson Optiger America by Christian Krogh, was in the possession of a Leif Erikson Memorial Association in Chicago before being given back to the National Gallery of Norway in 1900. For the centenary of the first official immigration of Norwegians to America, President Calvin Coolidge stated at the 1925 Minnesota State Fair, to a crowd of 100,000 people, that Leif had indeed been the first European to discover. Statues of him were erected at the Minnesota State Capitol in St. Paul in 1949, near Lake Superior in Duluth in 1956, and in downtown Seattle. The sagas do not give the exact date of Leif Erikson's landfall in America, they only state that it was in the fall of the year. At the suggestion of Christian A. Hone, Edgerton, Wisconsin, October 9th was settled upon, as that already was a historic date for Norwegians in America. The ship Restoration incoming from Stavanger arrived in New York Harbor on October 9, 1825 WITH, its first organized party of Norwegian immigrants. In 1929, the Wisconsin legislature passed a bill to make October 9 Leif Erikson Day in the state. The bill was signed by Governor Walter J. Kohler, Sr. that May. In 1964, the United States Congress authorized and requested the President to proclaim October 9 of each year as Leif Erikson Day. My ancestor was one of the greatest explorers that ever lived. Lily, wow. That's amazing. Mr. Squarepants told me that he invented a holiday called Leif Erikson Day. But he didn't have anyone to celebrate it with, so he made Bubble Buddy as a result. That's cool, Lily. June, Roger found the medallion and the spirits of the Vikings from the Kragnarok clan possessed my friends, including Ophelia. I don't remember what happened after that. But all I do remember is that we were singing for a choir at an old folks' home and then all of a sudden everything went black. But I was not in control of my body. That's the curse of the Kragnaroks. Leif Erikson broke the medallion in half and scattered it. June, I'm worried about all my friends though. Ophelia, think it's time we visited Orchard Bay to tell our friends that we're alright. G1 Mirage, I don't know. I have a feeling that something bad's waiting for us there. June, Kmin, Mirage. What could possibly have happened while me and Ophelia were gone? Well, we're not taking any chances. Let's fly. We set out for Orchid Bay. *****. Orchid Bay, Michigan. *****. We arrived in Orchid Bay, Michigan only to find that most of the city was completely destroyed and burning on fire. It was a horrifying and terrible sight. My God, what the hell happened here? Lincoln, this is a nightmare. June, this is terrible. G1 Mirage, what in the world caused all this? Nico, I don't know. But this is not good. Suzuki, these are all not random acts of destruction. These were all caused by acts of brutal savagery. June, how do you know all that, Suzuki? Suzuki, my clan has a way of knowing what took place during a battle. Looks like these cars were hacked to pieces by axes and swords and smashed with war clubs. Very similar to how the Vikings did centuries ago. June, how is that possible? I don't know. Brittany, something supernatural is behind all this. Lainey, yet. I feel it too. June, but where is everyone? Dennis, sees us, June? You and the others can cone out now. I'm okay. A bunch of people came out. Then we saw a girl with blonde hair and pigtails. June, Jody. Thank goodness you're all right. Ophelia, to Jody, who had her back turned to them. Jody, about why I left. June, Jody, I know that you found out about my secret. I'm very sorry. I never meant to keep this from you. I just hope you can forgive me. Jody, normal voice. Oh, don't worry, June. She turns around to reveal that she's possessed. Possessed Jody, your secret's safe with me. Me? That's not Jody talking. Who are you and what have you done with Jody? Possessed Jody, the girl you call Jody is no longer here. Me? I've heard that one before. Wait a second. I know that voice. June, I do too. It's the leader of the Kragnarok Viking clan. Then we got an even more shocking surprise. We saw 6 Heartless appear. It was the Heartless of 6 of our most fearsome enemies, Hobgoblin, Captain Cutler's Ghost, Beastman, the Black Knight Ghost, Triclops, and Pterodax appeared. It was a terrible group called the Heartless 6. Vakama, Pterodax, Beast Boy, Beastman, me, Triclops, Spider-Man, Hobgoblin, Velma, the Black Knight Ghost and the ghost of Captain Cutler. Maria, looks like the Vikings have the help of 6 heartless versions of our enemies. Makuta Pterodax. 100,000 years ago, Pterodax was created by the great spirit Matanui to serve as part of a brotherhood, whose job was to develop and alter creatures as needed. The brotherhood soon also took on the position of protecting Matanui's chosen people, the Mataran. Pterodax was explicitly put in charge of the city of Metranui and its surrounding region by Mazarix. In this time, Matanui and Pterodax were so close that they were considered brothers. In reality, this was because of Pterodax's destiny of taking over Matanui's body and helping his brother restore the broken planet of Spherus Magna, something Pterodax was never aware of. 80,000 years ago, the Brotherhood had discovered through the traitor Takadox that a military alliance called the League of 6 Kingdoms was plotting no less than the overthrow of Matanui himself. The Brotherhood, allied with Matanui's champions, the Toa, and Pterodax led a preemptive strike against the League and their leaders, the 6 warlords titled Baraki. All 6 Baraki were captured, but as Pterodax was about to execute them, a stranger named Badr appeared. He and Pterodax argued over the fate of the Baraki until Badr finally teleported away, taking the Baraki to the pit with him. Though Pterodax would occasionally wonder about the stranger and what he had done with the Baraki, he would more often consider the League's ultimate goal, and concluded that a Baraki was ultimately unworthy to replace the Great Spirit. However, he then began thinking about himself taking over the Mataran universe, and spurred on by this thought of rulership, Pterodax, and eventually the rest of the Brotherhood, became jealous of the high regard that the Mataran gave Matanui. He began brooding on ways to overthrow Matanui, and with the information gleaned from Tren Krom by Mutran, he was able to formulate the plan. Eventually, Pterodax revealed to the other Makuta his plan, which was to put Matanui to sleep, intending to take his place in the minds of the Mataran as their savior. Mazarix resisted this, but those Makuta that supported him were killed or fled. After a short brawl, Pterodax claimed leadership of the Brotherhood and ordered Mazarix to be executed, although Krika and Spiria, the Makuta assigned the task, did not kill him. Krika instead imprisoned him in a volcano on Artidax. Pterodax then set his plan into motion. At some point during these events, 6 Toa were selected to be Pterodax's bodyguards. He, of course, was more than capable of defending himself, so having bodyguards was purely a matter of prestige. These Toa became known as the Toa Haga. Metra Nui. When the plan was a year from fruition, even though he had a pledge not to, Pterodax kidnapped Turaga Dume, the leader of Metra Nui, and, posing as Dume, began sending the Toa that guarded the city to close the sea gates from which they never returned. To aid in this, he hired 3 dark hunters, Nidhiki and Kreka, who helped inside the city, and the hunter code-named Eliminator, who would stay outside and kill the Toa sent out to close the gates. He also brought in a predatory pet bird named NIVIRO to act as a spy. Eventually, only Toel Hekin was left as the guardian of the city. After he was taken, Dume commissioned the city's best mask maker, Vakama, to make the mask of time that would help in his plans. Dume then created the twisted plant called the Morbuzak and unleashed it on the outskirts of Metru. After the Morbuzak plant drove the Mataran to the city's center, Mohican became suspicious and, suspecting that he might be killed, decided it was time to choose Madaran to become new Toa. Pterodax tried to subtly influence this decision so that Lhigan would choose Toa who would not be able to stop him, but Madanui, suspecting danger, let Pterodax think that he chose Toa that could not stop him, so the Toa chosen were the ones destined to succeed. While these new Toa Metru, which included Vakama, were able to destroy the Morbuzak, Pterodax proceeded forward and had the city's Vahi enforcers continue the job that the Morbuzak had started, kidnapping Madaran and putting them into spheres that would erase their memory, allowing Pterodax to save them from their imprisonment. He would use the Vahi to speed up the process of their memory erasure, which would allow him to easily convince them to see him as the new Great Spirit. By the time the Toa Metra discovered his plot, it was too late and the entire population of Metra Nui had been put into the spheres. Even worse, Pterodax finally struck Mata Nui, sending him into a coma and bringing about the Great Cataclysm. The Toa tried to escape the city with a few spheres, intending to return for the rest, but Pterodax gave chase, boosting his power by absorbing Nidhiki, Kreka, and Nivok into his body along with the city's power supply. Vakama went to face him alone and tried to use the Vahi that he'd made against him. Pterodax was impressed that he was able to make a Vahi and offered him a position with his brotherhood as part of his essence, but Vakama refused. Unfortunately, Vakama's inexperience led to both of them getting caught in the mask's slow-motion effect. Pterodax had fired an inescapable, deadly blast when Lhigan, now Ituraga, jumped in the way and took the brunt of the blast for Vakama, and he soon died from the wound. Inspired by Lhigan's sacrifice, Vakama began to challenge Pterodax truly, and with the help of the other Toa Metru, sealed Pterodax in a prison of solid protodermis. Dark times. But even imprisoned, Pterodax was not helpless. He telepathically summoned two of the Brotherhood's lieutenants, Sidorak and Rudaka, to bring their Visorak armies to Metra Nui. Once there, Rudaka painfully cut away a small shard of the prison, intending to absorb the Toa's elemental powers and use them to break the seal. However, things didn't go as planned and Rudaka was instead attacked with blasts of elemental power, but the effect was the same. The seal was broken and Pterodax was free again. Pterodax's first action after being freed was to teleport Rudaka away from the Toa, who thought her dead. The prisoned shard was claimed by the Toa Metru, who later used it to represent Pterodax when telling their tales as Turaga. A short time later, Pterodax began searching for the Vahi, which had fallen into the sea during his fight with Vakama. But Vakama was also looking for the mask, as was a mutant named Vaporak, who searched on behalf of the Dark Hunters. Pterodax found Vakama and trapped him in an illusion, hoping to trick Vakama into giving him the Vahi, but Vakama broke free of the illusion, and Pterodax was furious to learn that Vaporak had taken the mask. He offered Vakama a truce until they got the Vahi back, and he kept his word, until the Dark Hunter leader, the Shadowed One, showed up, hunting the Toa that he was sure was responsible for Nidhiki and Kreka's deaths. Pterodax started bargaining with the Shadowed One over the Vahi, but Vakama cut negotiations short when he pointed out that it was Pterodax who had killed Nidhiki and Kreka. Enraged, the two hunters attacked Pterodax, breaching his armor, but Pterodax was able to knock Vaporak out and make the Shadowed One age prematurely in Vaporak's defensive field. Because of this incident, the Shadowed One declared war on the Brotherhood of Makuta. In the confusion, Vakama snatched the Vahi and began flying away. Pterodax soon tracked down Vakama and demanded the Vahi, but Vakama threatened to destroy the mask, and with it, the entire space-time continuum. Extremely reluctantly, Pterodax agreed to give the now free Madaran a year of peace and to leave Vakama's allies in Metra Nui alone. He then returned to Destral and challenged Icarax to make him stop terrorizing Madaran with his manas. Interestingly enough, he let Icarax live for the time. He then went to one of his many lairs, this one called Mangea. In that year, Vakama and the other Toa Metru brought the Madaran to the island of Madanui, became Turaga, and led them in constructing villages. Pterodax, meanwhile, located a lost Madaran named Ikmu and used seductive lies to make him an ally. Once the year was up, he began to harass the Madaran by creating Kreta and using them to enslave the local Rehi wildlife, with infected Kanoi, forcing them to attack the villages. His aim was hopefully to intimidate the Mataran into surrendering, but more importantly to keep the Mataran away from Metra Nui. But the Mataran fought back, driving off the Rehi and freeing some from Pterodax's control. However, Pterodax would keep on enslaving more, and the stalemate would continue for nearly 1,000 years. The arrival of the Toa. A wanderer named Tikwa was able to find 6 Toa stones that were scattered around the island, created and hidden back when the Turaga were the Toa Metru. Bringing these together at the Kininui temple summoned the Toa Mata to Mata Nui. At first, Pterodax tested these beings to make sure they were real Toa, including using Ikmo's help to spread an epidemic among the Po Mataran. He even went so far as to fight them directly. Once he was convinced, he retreated and awakened the Barak swarms for the Toa to deal with. He held no illusions that the Barak would be able to defeat the Toa, but they would keep the heroes busy, and once the swarms failed there was the chance that the elite Barak Kal could be a threat to the Toa. But the Toa prevailed against the Barak threats, transforming into more powerful Toa Nuva in the process. Mask of Light. Whatever schemes Pterodax was plotting during this time were abandoned a short while later, when Tikwa found the legendary Afoki Mask of Light. Legends stated that the mask's wearer, the Toa of Light, would appear in a time of darkness, and Pterodax quickly sent out Rashi to keep the prophecy from coming true. He also appeared to Tikwa, warning him that the consequences could be fatal for his friend Jaller if he didn't give Pterodax the mask. But these attempts failed, as Tikwa realized his destiny to become the Toa of Light, renaming himself Takanuva, though Pterodax's warning rang true, as Jaller did indeed die in the last battle with the Rashi. The next day, Takanuva went to challenge Pterodax alone, though once he got there he told his friend Holly, who had stowed away on his vehicle, to go back and bring all the Mataran. While she was doing this, Pterodax challenged Takanuva in the Mataran sport of Kalhai, and the ensuing game damaged much of the lair. When the Mataran arrived, Pterodax took out the lair's last remaining pillar, causing a cave-in and cutting off the Mataran's escape route. Takanuva then tried to rip Pterodax's mask of shadows off of his face, causing the two to fall into a pool of energized protodermis and emerge as a single being, Takivanuva. Takivanuva opened the way to Metra Nui, and the Pterodax side, being enlightened by the Mask of Light piercing the lies he had told himself over the centuries, even helped bring Jaller back to life. But the energy spent on the resurrection made Takivanuva too weak, and the gate he was holding fell and crushed him. Takanuva was quickly restored from his mask, but Pterodax is believed by the world to be dead. Despite the apparent victory, Takanuva harbored some suspicions that Pterodax let the Mataran win to further some grander plan. Voya Nui. 6 Skakti Dark Hunters, somehow hearing about Pterodax's apparent death, broke into the Makuta's domain. After a mishap where one of the Skakti were split into 2 beings, Pterodax's lingering essence implanted knowledge and information of the Kanoi Ignika into their minds, manipulating them into traveling to Voya Nui and retrieving the mask for him. Pterodax, forcing his gaseous form to not dissipate through sheer willpower, followed the Skakti to the island. During his disembodiment, Pterodax had discovered that Mata Nui was dying, and sought to use the Ignika to, ironically, save the Great Spirit's life. On Voya Nui, the Skakti tricked the inhabitant Mataran into believing they were Toa. Pterodax further influenced one of them, Zoktan, into solidifying his essence into a crystallized vat. This material was used to hypnotize the Voya Nui Mataran into the Skakti's slaves. Pterodax remained in his vat form, recovering from the strain of forcing himself to stay intact and awaited an opportunity for a return. It came in the form of a fight between Order of Mata Nui members Brutaka and Axon. During the battle, Axon had realized that Brutaka drew power from Pterodax's essence and shattered the chamber housing it. Pterodax proceeded to quietly flee the scene and follow the Toa Inika into Mari Nui. As the Toa traveled down the cord, Pterodax attempted to possess Mataro's body as the Toa of Ice had briefly left it to scout ahead in spirit form. The Toa Inika quickly found out what had happened and threatened to destroy Mataro's body, driving Pterodax out. Mari Nui. Wandering the waters beneath Voya Nui, Pterodax possessed the body of a Maxylos robot searching for pit prisoners. It was here that he was contacted by Garast, who he ordered to gather the strongest Makuta to invade Kardanui and build an army of shadow matter and using the AV matter and living there. With this, Pterodax had put the necessary pieces in place for his goals. Disguised as the Maxylos robot, Pterodax traveled to the pit and discovered Order of Madanui member and pit warden Hydraxon there, imprisoning a transformed Toa Mataro. Once Hydraxon was out of the area, Pterodax revealed himself to Mataro, much to the Toa of Ice's horror. Pterodax offered a truce and temporary partnership to retrieve the Ignica, a deal Mataro reluctantly agreed to. Pterodax freed the Toa and beckoned him to help him find clues within the pit's ruins. Pterodax discovered what he presumed to be the body of Toa Tuet, in actuality a deceased alternate version, within the ruins and tricked Mataro into using his Kanoi Trina to resurrect the corpse. The Makuta initially planned to keep what he believed to be shards of the Nui stone within Tuet's armor on hand for plans. Unfortunately, Kartsuni, with his ambitions for conquest, fought with Pterodax for the stone, briefly trapping him in a vision of a future where Madanui awoke and punished him for his actions. The Makuta managed to snap out of the assault and defeat Kartsuni by magnetically sending him away. However, another obstacle arrived in the form of Brutaka, who distracted Pterodax long enough for Badr to come and steal away the Nui stone. Pterodax shrugged off the setback, deciding that the whole affair was a small, distracting detour and joined Mataro in finding the rest of the Toa Inika, who had transformed into the Toa Mari. Once the Toa were reunited, Pterodax was forced to act like a mindless robot. The Ignica had somehow gotten into the hands of Hydraxon, and Mataro, wanting to be rid of Pterodax's threat looming over the Toa Mari's quest, suggested the possessed Maxylos robot to find the pit jailer. Not wanting to reveal himself, Pterodax begrudgingly agreed and searched for Hydraxon. After a brief battle with the jailer, Pterodax was ambushed by Mataro and frozen in a block of ice. The sharp drop in temperature cracked the Maxylos hull and released Pterodax's essence. A fireball from a fight between the now Toa jailer and Hydraxon melted the ice, releasing Pterodax but leaving him in a critically damaged state. Pterodax was then attacked by the Baraki's underwater Rehi army, further damaging his vessel. Despite anger at his loss, Pterodax opted not to continue involvement and abandoned the Maxylos robot to travel back to Metra Nui. During his journey, Pterodax felt the death of the Mataran universe and, in a moment of humility, prayed that something saved his brother and the universe. Luckily for everyone, Mataro donned the Ignica and sacrificed himself to bring Madanui back to life. Meanwhile, at Metra Nui, Pterodax infiltrated the core processor to bide time, waiting for the Toa Nuva to awaken Madanui. Reign of Shadows. The Toa Nuva succeeded in awakening the Great Spirit using the sentient Ignica. However, Pterodax intercepted Madanui's spirit before he could retake his body, and sealed him into the Ignica, overriding the mask's consciousness and replacing it with Madanui's. After thousands of years of planning, Pterodax's plan finally came to fruition as he rose out of the waters of Aqua Magna in Madanui's enormous robotic body, which housed the entirety of the Mataran universe. He killed all remaining Makuta, intending not to let another betrayal like his to occur. With godlike control over his new body's functions and environments, Pterodax made his presence as the universe's new great spirit known to all. His first act, forming a constellation of his Kanoi Krokhan on the Wall of Stars, announced the New World Order to all species within him. His second act was to launch the Kanoi Ignica into outer space, exiling Madanui with no way to return to save his people. Thus began the Reign of Shadows as Pterodax, still getting used to the enormity of his new form, focused his attention on ridding his body of all resistance and free will. Journey's End. After weeks of coordinating the purge of resistance within his body, Pterodax suddenly sensed Madanui's presence on Verm Magna, where he unwittingly sent the Ignica. Furious over his brother's survival, Pterodax abandoned his quest for the complete conquest of the Mataran universe and ordered his forces to descend to the southern islands in preparation for an invasion. Activating his body's propulsion systems, Pterodax launched himself into space towards Barum Magna. As he traveled, Pterodax decided once and for all that he didn't need Madanui alive for his plans of universal conquest and opted to kill his brother finally. Pterodax arrived on Barum Magna, where he found himself confronted with a smaller robot similar to his body. The Makuta realized this was Madanui, having taken over a prototype version of his former body to confront Pterodax. Madanui pleaded with him to help him restore Spherus Magna, which he revealed as their mutual destiny and the purpose for the Great Spirit robot's journey across the universe. Pterodax refused to listen, blinded by pure murderous intent, and struck Madanui. The Makuta mocked Madanui for his newfound fondness for the inhabitants of Barum Magna as well as for those within the Mataran universe, which he reminded Madanui that he would be harming if he were to fight back. As he fought Madanui, Pterodax unleashed his Rashi army upon the Glatorian and the Agri at his feet, inciting a full-scale war on the planet's surface. As the battle raged on, Madanui managed to trick Pterodax into using the Great Spirit robot's gravitational systems to draw Boda Magna and Aqua Magna towards Barum Magna, accomplishing the Great Being's mission for them. However, Pterodax, at his wit's end, chose to destroy Barum Magna with the same gravitational energy. At that moment, Pterodax was distracted by Toatehu's mass destruction of his Rashi forces. Madanui took advantage of this hesitation and shoved Pterodax into Boda Magna. The Makuta's head impacted with the jungle moon, destroying it and ending the tyrant's life and threat once and for all. As Spherus Magna was reformed immediately following his death, Pterodax unknowingly completed his destiny to take over the Mataran universe and aid Madanui in finally repairing the shattering. Beastman. Beastman makes his debut in Mattel's very first illustrated books as Skeletor's closest and most loyal follower in the then quite small band of evil warriors. As the toy line expanded, he stayed at Skeletor's side as a ferocious man-beast who can summon most of the wild creatures of Eternia to aid Skeletor's schemes. Beastman appears frequently in the toy line's accompanying cartoon series by Filmation, introduced in the first episode Diamond Ray of Disappearance. Although toned down slightly for the younger child-friendly series, as were many of the characters, his cartoon portrayal is generally consistent with his mini-comic portrayal, although in some early episodes the show's writers added extra dimensions to his character in that despite his loyalty, he clearly resents being bossed around by Skeletor and secretly desires to someday overthrow his master. This side of his character is brought to the forefront in the episode Prince Adam No More, in which he is finally thrown out of Skeletor's crew. Feeling useless without the power of Snake Mountain behind him, he sets out to prove his worth by capturing King Randor by himself and bringing him to Snake Mountain. Although he succeeds in capturing the king, when He-Man comes to the rescue he is subjected once again to Skeletor's wrath and admitted back into his ranks purely so Skeletor has someone to vent his anger on. But his final line in the episode "It's kind of nice to be home" indicates he now feels he belongs as Skeletor's underling, and subsequent episodes portray him mostly for comedy value, willingly succumbing to Skeletor's abuse and constantly bungling his schemes. Notable episodes for Beastman in the show's later stages include The Shadow of Skeletor and Orko's Return, which restore him to his original, darker portrayal, working independently and craftily to achieve his aims. The powers of Beastman are shown effective in some earlier episodes, such as Creatures from the Tar Swamp, A Beastly Sideshow, and The Dragon Invasion. His ability to control animals is not impeccable, however. For instance, he cannot control Cringer, Battle Cat, or Panther. Beastman remained a fairly regular character throughout the run of the 1980s series, while some other earlier figures like Zodok, Merman, Triclops, and Stratos gradually dropped out of sight when newer characters were released. He generally held his position as Skeletor's right-hand man throughout the cartoon's run, although in some later second season episodes this position was occasionally filled by characters such as Clawful or Whiplash, as writers attempted to promote newer characters more prominently. Beastman was often teamed up with Trap Jaw, one of the other earlier characters to remain consistent through the show's life. Beastman's background is never mentioned in the cartoon, although the series Bible states a surprising origin for him. explaining he was once a thuggish human from Earth called Biff Beastman who owned a farmyard on which he constantly abused the animals. He was recruited as chief technician on the spacecraft piloted by Marlena Glenn, which crash-landed on Eternia, but he wound up on Skeletor's home world of Infinita, where he was mutated into Beastman and recruited by Skeletor. This origin story appears in a storybook entitled New Champions of Eternia but was unpopular with most of the show's writers and therefore excluded from the series. Triclops. Real name, Tritor Esunix Scope. Originally an interdimensional bounty hunter and tracker, Scope was recruited by Skeletor during one of the final battles of the Great Unrest to bolster his weakened forces. As good with a blade as he is crafty, Scope took on the name Triclops after an accident left him blind and he was forced to wear a trioptic visor which granted him expanded tracking abilities including gamma vision, the ability to see around objects, distivision, a form of far vision, night vision, and the ability to generate optic blasts. Triclops uses his 3 different eyes to spy for Skeletor. Black Knight Ghost. He first appeared, alongside the 5 main characters, in the pilot episode of Scooby-Doo, Where Are You?, which was called What a Night for a Night. He was clad in suit of black armor and was voiced by the late Bob Poppenbrook. Shaggy Rogers and Scooby-Doo found the mysterious Black Knight that the kids returned to the museum. When there, they discover the archaeologist delivering the Knight is missing, and the Knight has come to life. The man behind the Black Knight armor was the curator Jeremiah Wickles, also known as Old Man Wickles, who was using the legend to cover up his art forgery scheme. Ghost of Captain Cutler. Captain Cutler's ghost first appeared in the Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? Episode, A Clue for Scooby-Doo. It was revealed that Captain Cutler was still alive and he and his wife faked his death so that they would steal the yachts and sell them. Hobgoblin. The Hobgoblin, Jason Philip Macondale, is one of the recurring antagonists of the series, along with Kingpin, the Green Goblin Dr. Octopus, and Venom. He was voiced by Mark Hamill, whose voice is similar to the Joker, who also voiced him in Batman, the animated series. In his first appearance, he was a criminal turned assassin hired by Norman Osborn to kill New York's most feared criminal mastermind, Wilson Fisk, also known as the Kingpin, in which the Hobgoblin himself did not know that Fisk was the Kingpin. Osborn was indebted to the Kingpin for various shady loans that Osborn was unable to repay. After the assassination is foiled by the appearance of Spider-Man and Peter Parker when they save Fisk when he was going to create a criminology school and cause the Hobgoblin to flee, the Hobgoblin demands Osborn to pay him and he will take another chance to kill Fisk. But Osborn refuses to pay him and fires him. This sets off a chain of events in which the Hobgoblin is curious about why Osborn wants Fisk dead, and while snooping around Fisk's building, he is captured and realizes Fisk is the Kingpin. Just when the Kingpin would kill the Hobgoblin asks for a chance for a partnership with the Kingpin and defeat Norman Osborn, the man who hired the Hobgoblin to kill Fisk. Kingpin was so despised at hearing this news and Osborn for what he did that he aligns with the Hobgoblin and sends him to kidnap Harry Osborn, Norman's son, in order for the elder Osborn to make good on his payment. But when Hobgoblin sees that Kingpin will not pay him immediately, he eventually betrays the Kingpin by going to Norman for better weapons to kill the Kingpin and so that Osborn can have his company and son. Osborn gives him a better glider and weapons, and gets into a prolonged battle with Spider-Man across New York, ending with the Hobgoblin presuming that Spider-Man died in an explosion. Later, by the time the Hobgoblin returned to the Kingpin, Hobgoblin realizes the Kingpin knows he was going to double-cross him, causes the Kingpin to flee, having the Hobgoblin think he died and took over his empire. The story concludes with the Kingpin, Osborn, and Spider-Man all loosely allying themselves to defeat the Hobgoblin, where Spider-Man fights the Hobgoblin in the Kingpin's lair and nearly destroys it. The superhero saves Harry, bringing him back to Norman and expelling the Hobgoblin from Fisk's empire, having the crime lord reclaim it as his own. The Hobgoblin tries one more time by trying to kill Osborn and his son, but Spider-Man saves them and has the Hobgoblin crash into a nearby river. In the end, Osborn sells 50% of his company to the Kingpin in order to repay his debt. Harry Osborn is returned safely, and the Kingpin rebuilds his headquarters. Hobgoblin went on to make 2 more appearances, starting with the crossover of X-Men, the animated series. He discovered that Dr. Herbert Landon, who was said to cure mutation, and secretly promising to make a mutant army for the Kingpin, was planning to exterminate all mutant kind. The Hobgoblin blackmailed Landon that if Landon did not give him the money he thought he deserved, then Landon's real intentions will be revealed to the public. However, Spider-Man tracked the Hobgoblin down and learned that Landon could potentially make good on his threat. Teaming up with Wolverine, Spider-Man tracked Landon to his lab. They battled Hobgoblin, who managed to escape with discs outlining Landon's master plan. Spider-Man and the X-Men managed to defeat an ironically mutated Landon after the Hobgoblin escaped, and Landon was taken into a hospital to be cured of his mutation. The Hobgoblin's next appearance was in the second Green Goblin story arc, in which his identity was revealed to be Jason Philip Mason-Dale, fiancé to Felicia Hardy, and had a portal-creating machine called the Time Dilation Accelerator. Once his identity was revealed to his fiancée, he and Felicia were kidnapped by the Green Goblin, who stole the accelerator from the villain and took both fiancé to their doom at Oscorp, where they will be killed in an acid pool. Spider-Man forced the Goblin into limbo, right before he would return in the next episode, saved Macon-Dale and Felicia, and their relationship ended. The Hobgoblin was then immediately taken into custody afterward. An alternate reality version of the Hobgoblin appeared in Part 1 in the series finale of Spider-Man as an enemy of the Scarlet Spider. He battled the various Spider-Men from different realities to try to stop Spider-Carnage from destroying all of reality, suffered defeat, and was tied up. In the last episode of the series, the Kingpin's building, where the beaten Hobgoblin was kept, exploded. Madam Web used her powers to save Spider-Man, his associates, and the Kingpin, but Hobgoblin apparently perished in the explosion. An interesting fact is that in his first appearance his skin was not white, but black. Suzuki, this is definitely Tala's handiwork. Me, that Tala just loves making our jobs harder. But we beat these fuckfaces before and we can do so again. Scandinavian accent, let me help you all. A spirit appeared and we saw that it was the spirit of my ancestor Leif Erikson. Me, gasp. Ancestor Leif Erikson. Leif, that's right. You are a true Norseman, JD. I've watched all your battles from afar and you are a magnificent warrior. Me, thanks ancestor. Shall we team up and take these Vikings down like you did 1,000 years ago? Leif, you got it. Me, June, I'm sorry but we're gonna have to hurt your friends to drive the spirits of the Vikings out. June, we'll just do what we have to do. Black Mask block, I give you, the Heartless 6. Ben, that's exactly how the -10 was introduced to me. The malevolent Animus pounced at Captain America, knocking him to the ground. The glowing Sea Terror fired a harpoon at Optimus Prime's leg, making him scream in pain. Possessed Jody, this isn't one of your simulations. This is real. If Optimus Prime and Captain America fall before us, what chance do you have? Ben, we'll see about that. It's hero time. Turns into fast track. Nico pulled out the spear and healed Optimus Prime. Me, let's split them up and take them down. We went at them. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. Battle 1, Glowing Sea Terror. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. Mixmaster, Jazz, Maria, Bisley, William, and Shago were facing the Glowing Sea Terror. The Glowing Sea Terror looked like an ordinary man in a scuba suit and he has seaweed and water powers. Maria, I'll never forget that haunted glow when we beat Captain Cutler's ghost. Bisley, too bad he wasn't a ghost for real. That was just to cover a major smuggling ring he and his wife were doing. Maria, Velma wasn't the ghost of Captain Coulter your second villain that you busted? Velma, he was. Captain Cutler and his wife were doing a major smuggling ring by painting boats and yachts different colors and selling them on the black market. William, that's awful. Bisley, let's get him. They went at the Glowing Sea Terror and Biza punched him through his helmet and kicked him in the helmet and knocked it clean off. The person underneath the helmet was an ugly decomposing face. He was glowing. Mixmaster, that is one ugly freak of nature. Jazz, how do you think he became like that? Bisley, well, it says that he died in prison. Maria, great, so not even hell was willing to accept him. William fired a powerful blast of lightning from his blaster and electrocuted him, and he screamed in a horrifying sound. Think of how the ghost of Captain Cutler made that ghostly sound at the beginning of the episode. Jazz fired numerous laser blasts at the glowing sea terror and they hit him and exploded. Shago fired a powerful blast of green fire and Mixmaster fired chemical bombs at him and they exploded and killed the glowing sea terror instantly. Bisley, that takes care of that Claude. Maria, yep. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. Battle 2, Malevolent Animus. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. Hot Shot, Scrapper, Shocker, Elena, Venom, and Rhino were facing the Malevolent Animus. The Malevolent Animus looked like Beast Man but with black fur, and he has demon wings and evil red eyes. Will, quietly next time Jody walks by, I'll grab her and activate the heart of Kandrakar. Then I'll open a portal to the estate so that the others can help get the spirit out of her. The Malevolent Animus then appeared behind her. Malevolent Animus, too bad you won't live to do that. Elena fired a powerful blast of lightning and electrocuted the Beast Man Heartless and kicked him in the face and sent him crashing into a dumpster. But surprisingly, when he hit the dumpster, he unearthed Chuck Green and Steve Boswell. Nico, there you two are. Nico and May grabbed them and tied them up in chains. But they saw that Chuck and Steve were possessed by the Vikings as well. Possessed Chuck, let us go, you fucking runt. Possessed Steve, you will all die by our hands. Nico, you Viking freaks have failed this world as you did 1,000 years ago. Nico and May punched them in their faces and knocked them out. The first group met up with Nico and May. Maria, you two are in a lot of trouble when you are unpossessed. Nico, to May and Maria. May. Maria, do you think we did the right thing? May, right thing? Nico, you know, exposing Chuck and Steve. Maria, of course we did. Nico, it doesn't feel like it. They might have been jerks. But if we hadn't been so harsh in teaching them a lesson, maybe they wouldn't have run away and become the Vikings' puppets. And now, they see NT come back to their homes again. But, what do you two think? May, they deserved it, Nico. After all the pain and trauma they've inflicted on Carly Beth, they'll get what's coming to them. Maria, when we send Chuck and Steve to jail, we'll get justice for Carly Beth. Will, now let's get back to work. We'll use the heart of Kandrakar to open a portal, and she went at her and pushed her into the portal and they went in and the portal closed. Nico, that's a genius plan Will has. Hot Shot fired a powerful laser blast, it hit the Beast Man Heartless, and Elena fired a powerful blast of lightning and Shocker did the same and electrocuted him. Rhino and Venom both charged him and they slammed into him and he exploded all over the place as a massive pile of blood and guts. Scrapper, that's that for that freak. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. Battle 3, Pumpkinhead Terror. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. Scavenger, Landmine, Francis, Killer Frost, Lee, and Poison Ivy were facing the Pumpkinhead Terror. The Pumpkinhead Terror looked like Hobgoblin but with a flaming pumpkin for a head. Pumpkinhead Terror threw a pumpkin bomb at Nicole just as she took out the Book of Vile Darkness, knocking it into a nearby pond. Nicole, no. Pumpkinhead Terror, cackle no, poor thing. Guess you won't be able to use your book anymore. Nicole, you monster fucker. Landmine blew the Pumpkinhead Terror away in a powerful tornado and Killer Frost fired a blast of ice and froze him. Poison Ivy threw a bunch of vines and tied up the Pumpkinhead Terror, and Lee and Francis fired powerful blasts of fire and burned him. Scavenger fired a bunch of laser blasts and they hit the Pumpkinhead Terror, exploded all over the place, killing him instantly. Nico flew in and brought Nicole the Book of Vile Darkness. Nico, here Nicole. Nicole, thanks Nico. I owe you one. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. Battle 4, Dark Ghost Knight. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. Long Haul, Slingshot, Arpeggio, Teresa, Carey, and Xian were facing the Dark Knight Ghost. The Dark Ghost Knight looked like how the Shredder turned into in the 1980s TMNT2 movie. Dark Ghost Knight, clashes sword with Carey. Be glad you can exchange witty banter with me. Most of my fellow monsters hardly ever speak. Teresa, you are an ugly monstrosity. Xian, I agree. Carey slashed the Dark Knight Ghost's arms off and slingshot and blasted his body apart, and Xian slashed his head and Arpeggio blasted what was left of him with feather bombs. Slingshot, so much for that freak. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. Battle 5, Dark Three-Eyed Horror. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. Me, Hook, Ratchet, Stewie, Bowser Jr., Rubber Band Man, and Ink were facing the Dark Three-Eyed Horror. The Dark Three-Eyed Horror looked like a Triclops without his visor, but he had more powerful strength and the armor he got from the Ambrosia. Dark Three-Eyed Horror, I'm actually glad you morons killed me. Stewie, why is that? Dark Three-Eyed Horror, because you've made me even more powerful than He-Man and Skeletor. Rubber Band Man, you make me sick. Triclops. You injured Tila and she lost a lot of blood because of you. Me, but in truth we should be thanking you. Dark Three-Eyed Horror, confused. Why? Me, because thanks to you I was able to give Tila some of my blood and it gave her powers as a result. We went at him and I punched him in the face and kicked him in the stomach. Ink slammed a tentacle of ink onto him with devastating force, and Hook, Ratchet, and Stewie blasted him all over the place with blasters. Bowser Jr. fired a powerful blast of fire from his mouth and it hit the Triclops heartless and burned him. Rubber Band Man punched the Dark Three-Eyed Horror with devastating force and I fired a powerful energy blast and vaporized him. Me, go back to hell. Triclops. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. Battle 6, Black Mask Block. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. Nico, Vakama, Bone Crusher, Override, Sandman, Clayface, Riku, and Demona were facing the Black Mask Block. Black Mask Block looked like Makuta Pterodax but with spiked black armor and a spiked dark mask and had an aura of dark fire. Black Mask Block, hello, Vakama. How is Toel Hekin? Vakama, better. Now that he's about to be avenged. Black Mask Block, is that any way to talk to the future ruler of this universe? Now that Juniper Lee's friends are working with me, my comrades and I will kill off every hero across the world. But you won't live long enough to see it. Nico, we'll see about that. And I haven't forgotten what you did to me, Pterodax. You made me see Ken and tried to poison my mind with hallucinations of him as the Digimon Emperor. Riku, you will pay for everything you've done, Pterodax. Nico, let's get him. They went at him and Nico punched him in the face and punched his mask off. Vakama fired a powerful blast of fire and Sandman fired a powerful blast of sand at him. The blasts hit him and burned and cut him. Squirrel Girl fired nuts that exploded and they hit him and exploded. Squirrel Girl, you are a monster, Pterodax. Riku fired a blast of dark fire and burned him bad. Override and Lori fired blasts of fire and lasers at the Black Mask Block and they hit him and exploded. Nico, let's finish this Claude with our combos and final smashes. Mirage, you got it, Nico. Cyber Key Power. Mirage turned into an Indy 500 race car and the Velocitrion Cyber Planet Key went into Mirage's back and out popped 6 more laser blasters from his sides. Squirrel Girl, I've always wanted to try this. Animatron Cyber Key Power. The Animatron Cyber Planet Key went into her right arm device and she had numerous squirrels appear by her. Squirrel Girl, I hope you aren't afraid of squirrels. G1 Mirage and Squirrel Girl, Supersonic Squirrel Scurry. The squirrels ran by the sides of Mirage and Squirrel Girl was standing on top of him as he fired lasers and they ran him over. Breakdown, let's get him. Cyber Key Power. The Earth Cyber Planet Key went into the back of Breakdown's bumper and it enhanced his concussion blaster. Commander Jupiter, let's get him. Skuntunk. Animatron Cyber Key Power. The animatron cyber planet key went into her right arm device and it enhanced her Skuntunk's abilities. Commander Jupiter, let's get him Skuntunk. G1 breakdown and Commander Jupiter, laser cannon stink blast barrage. Commander Jupiter's Skuntunk fired a powerful blast of an extremely foul-smelling stench that smelled so horrible that it made some of us hurl our guts out, and Breakdown fired his Concussion Blaster and the blasts combined and hit him and they exploded. Bone Crusher fired blasts and missiles at the Pterodax Heartless. Demona slashed him with her claws and fired laser blasts from her red eyes. Lucy, let's get him. Night Lightning Fear Storm. Lucy fired a powerful blast of black lightning and it slammed into the black mask block and electrocuted him. Ophelia, you make me sick. Dark Fire Dragon Death. Ophelia fired a massive blast of dark fire and it went at the black mask block and burned it with flames as hot as the sun. Ophelia, let's see what Bat Swarm is capable of in a fight. Ophelia sprouted bat wings and her skin turned dark brown and furry. Her teeth turned into fangs. Her eyes turned yellow and her ears turned pointy. She turned into Bat Swarm. Ophelia went at the black mask block and screamed and a powerful blast of supersonic energy fired out of her mouth. It hit the black mask block and blew him apart. Bat Swarm? Wow. June, Ophelia, that was amazing. Bat Swarm? Thanks June. June, my turn. Magic Force Blast Storm. June fired a powerful blast of magical energy and it slammed into the black mask block and vaporized him in an instant. All the 6 Heartless were sent into the river of fire. Me, that takes care of them. Let's go stop those Vikings. Nico caught a Pachirisu and a Floatzel during the fight. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. Battle 7, the Kragnarok Vikings. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. We went at the Vikings in the kids' bodies. Me, just so you know kids, this is gonna hurt us more than it's gonna hurt all of you. We went at them and mercilessly pulverized them into pulp. We punched, kicked, and pulverized them brutally with indiscriminate fury. Back at the estate, Will was facing the leader of the Vikings in Jody's body. Will dodged a slash from her axe and kicked her in the face and leg swept her. We brought everyone back and we brought everyone together. Me, wow. You did a great job, Will. Will, thanks JD. Lucy, to the viewers, never mess with the power of darkness and Team Loud Phoenix Storm. I found the medallion. Me, here's the medallion of Talker. Leaf, just crush it JD. Me, right ancestor. I crushed the medallion with my bare hands and the spirits of the Vikings left the kids and they were sucked into the river of fire. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. At the estate in the infirmary, Jody woke up. She only had a broken leg. Jody, what? What happened? Me, glad you're awake Jody. Jody, JD. Nudson? It's an honor to meet you. Me, same here. June told me a lot about you. But I'm afraid we have bad news. We explained everything and Jody was in absolute shock. Jody, sobs the things we did. What have we done? Throws up. I went over and comforted her. Jody was absolutely horrified at what she and her friends did against their wills. And the pain and deaths they caused were awful. But it was gonna take a lot of psychological therapy for them. We had Eno come over and help them. After she calmed down, we were talking to her. Jody, we were worried about you June. June, sorry about that Jody. Jody, and Ophelia, we haven't seen you in a while. We thought something happened. Ophelia, it did actually, and that's why June left. To find me. June, I ended up meeting Team Loud Phoenix Storm as a result. Me, it's a very long and complicated story. We told her how Ophelia was gene slammed with vampire bat DNA and how she can turn into Bat Swarm. We also helped turn her back and got her new clothes. Jody, wow. Ophelia, that's amazing. Ophelia, it is. Jody, and June, are you still fighting monsters and demons as the Te Xianzi? June, I sure am. Me. So I guess June told you and trusted you, right? Jody, she sure did. June, and now Ophelia and I are working together. Ophelia, we're partners. Me, yep they are. And they are really awesome together. Jody, you guys are perfect as partners. They had a nice talk. The end. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. Another fanfiction complete. The Vikings of the Kragnarok clan from the life and times of Juniper Lee were a bunch of fierce Vikings and they were tough too. Nico-chan 11 gave me the ideas for this one. Thanks man as usual. No, I am not descended from Leif Erikson in real life. But it would be cool if I was. Let me know what you all think. See you all next time.